Good evening, folks. This is Deb Delapiana, and this is your short take. So, as you all know, I am from Massachusetts, and I speak about Massachusetts in glowing terms, and I genuinely mean what I say about this state. I have no intention of leaving Massachusetts, given my life, giving the lives of my children, and the overall blue tinge climate here. But I want to explain something to you. Not all is perfect here in Massachusetts. There's a point to what I'm making here. Okay, there's a point to all of this. The point is that there will never be any perfect city, any perfect state. Okay, it is always going to be something that people have to watch and be vigilant about. So let me explain where I'm going with this. Boston, for years, was an extremely racist city. And in very specific parts of Boston, it is still a very racist city. And there are still some very racist people in power here in Boston. But right now in Boston, we have a government that is pretty much run by women. And this is where we are today. We have our first Asian American mayor, Michelle Wu, who I like very much, and she's actually the subject of the story. We actually have our first female governor, but not only our first female governor in Maura Healey, but our first openly LGBT governor in Maura Healey. We have a lieutenant governor who's a female. We have females at the attorney general's level. We are female here all over the place. So let's talk about Michelle Wu, who suffers an awful lot from racism in this town. And everything, she is more than any of the other people who have been elected. She has been under a microscope, and she's up for reelection. And God damn it, I want this woman to win. Okay. I remember her as we stood outside at our protests when the thought first hit us that they were going to overturn Roe. She was campaigning for the mayor position at that point, and her campaign people came by and spoke to us. And I said, well, I'm only going to support her if she supports a woman's right to choose. And I remember the woman saying something to me, giving me a packet about Michelle Wu. And I actually sent Michelle Wu an email, and I got a response, and she did support a woman's right to choose. So moving on, here we are. And she is, especially during COVID, with the Asian flu and all of that, she was the subject. She got a lot of ugly calls and a lot of ugly comments here in Boston, and she has persevered. So this year, so far, she has managed to, upend the apple cart yet again. She hosted for Christmas an electeds of color luncheon. For just the electeds of color, a dozen people, Latino, Black, Asian, who now serve in the city of Boston. And let there be no mistake about this. They're calling her divisive, and they're doing that because she's up for re-election. The conservatives are all out here calling her divisive rather than unifying, when in fact, actually, this has been done before here, okay? If Tom Menino did a dinner for Italian-American people, there would be no issue here, okay? Anything a man did was never a problem until a woman of power actually had the utter gall to have an electeds of color luncheon where honkies weren't invited. But in fact, let me just say one thing. She also held a party after that for everyone, where there were over 50 people in attendance. So stop it, okay? Boston right now is a minority majority city. And the fact that a mayor in power took it upon herself to celebrate how far Boston has come in representing the people who live here should be taken not as a threat to white America, but as a boon to this state and a recognition of how far we've come. The second thing Michelle Wu did was to apologize to the Black community in Boston for the way they were treated when Chuck Stewart killed his wife in 1989. He knew Boston was racist. He killed his wife coming out of a Lamaze class, shot himself with only a minor injury, and then claimed a carjacking and blamed two Black men from Boston. And what did the police do? In a very racist environment in 1989, they literally flooded the projects, searching for a gentleman named Willie Bennett and another guy. I can't remember the second man's name, but the article will be in the YouTube video. And literally without warrants, just broke down doors in the projects looking for these people, ransacked people's homes, totally victimized the Black community. It was a disgrace. It is one of the biggest black marks, in my opinion, in Massachusetts history, and certainly the biggest black mark in Boston history. It was an egregious misuse of power. And you know what? There were only, the majority of the state was willing to blame a Black person for killing a white woman. That's the way we used to be here. We are much better now. And we are going to continue to get better as long as we can keep people like Michelle Wu and Maura Healey and people who recognize that the world isn't white and that we actually do owe an apology to people that we abuse. And I give credit to Michelle Wu for doing so. The fact that she did this today, and Willie Bennett was there for this apology, it was done publicly. She has done what no other mayor has done since 1989. And there were plenty of Democratic males who could have done this and did not. Right up until Marty Walsh, before Michelle Wu, who went to work for the Biden administration for a period of time. He could have done the same thing. He could have apologized publicly. And you know what? It's about time, and I give her credit. And she took a little bit of criticism for this too, because frankly, the way it's going to be around here is everything Michelle Wu does, she's going to be under a microscope. And you know what? I believe the woman is up to the task. She's running for re-election. She needs to win again. She's doing her job, and she's doing right by the people of Boston. We need to continue to understand that nobody gets to take time off in this climate. And the reason we ended up in this mess is by not exercising our rights and not voting. But I'm not going to mix that message in with this message, okay? What I wanted to do was point out to you that things haven't always been so sunny and rosy here in Glockamora, but they certainly are now, and we'd like to keep it this way. And that means we keep the Republicans the hell out of this state in 2024. That should be your goal too. And you can improve where you live as well. I'll talk to you guys later.